Welcome to a Trekzone Conversation. Matt Miller with you in Studio 4. Very much looking forward to today's guest. Been lining him up for a couple of weeks now. Mr. Aaron Reynolds is going to join me. He's the creative genius behind Swear Trek. We're going to talk about that and much more on today's show.
On Apple Podcasts, Spotify, Google Podcasts, and YouTube for over 550 episodes. This is a Trekzone Conversation.
And Aaron is here now. Aaron, thanks so much for your time today, my friend. I really appreciate it.
Well, thanks for inviting me on. I know it's early for you and it's late for me. That's how this is working, right?
It absolutely is. It looks glorious.
It?
It is 10 o'clock as we're recording here in Brisbane. I believe it's late in the evening with daylight saving kicking in for you.
Yeah, you can barely even see any of my backyard here. I have a beautiful picturesque background that you can't see any of because it's dark out.
It was going to be dark for one of us when we started recording, but no, it looks good. It looks good out there. I can see some trees and stuff.
I thought it looked a little bit like cowboyish, which was what I was going for.
Whereabouts are you in the States?
I'm in Canada. I'm in Toronto, Canada.
I'm terribly sorry for that deep cut insult.
It's, you know what? It happens so often that I can't be really upset about it. I mean, I have a book that came out last fall, and first I got a UK publisher, and then I got an American publisher. And then I got a Canadian publisher as like an add-on throw-in with the American publisher. It's like, come on, this is where I'm from. Please, I'd like to sell books in my own country. Thank you.
Please support me. Well, I believe Canada's a little bit like the New Zealand to us as Australia, but that would make us Americans, and I think that's a pretty big insult for my home country.
Nobody wants to be compared to Americans. Sorry, Americans. 80% of my audience is Americans, and so I have to be nice because, I love them, but also I don't want to be them.
Yes, exactly right. I'm in the same boat as well. A lot of my audience is American, but and we love them. We love them dearly, but we love them a little bit like a stepchild or something like that, I think.
Exactly.
All right. Well, we're not here to talk about geopolitical opinions. We are here to talk about Swear Trek, which is your amazing Twitter stream putting the funk in Star Trek captions. What was the genesis for this idea?
It was a really weird one. I hate emoji a lot. Like, I just hate them. Little smiley faces, and I understand their value. Like, I understand conveying to somebody in a text message, this is how I feel, without having to write like 3 paragraphs of how do I feel. And I was watching a lot of 60s Star Trek because it was just in the lead up to the 50th anniversary. And I started every once in a while taking a screenshot of what was on my screen when there was like a big, broad emotion there. And I started using those as emoji. I started replying to people with, a Kirk like, or, stuff like that. Or, a Spock arched eyebrow or whatever else. And one day I took a screenshot of the scene from Wolf in the Fold where they throw the guy on the transporter pad to beam him off into space when he's unconscious. And so I had this guy just laying on his back with his arms splayed out on a transporter pad. And he looks like he's drunk or he's had a terrible night or something like that. And I just was like, I just want to caption this with the F word. And I thought that was hilarious to me. And then I started looking at all of the screenshots I had made, and every single one of them could be captioned with the F word and be funny. And so I just started doing that. You'll actually, if you go all the way back to the start of Swear Trek, I think it's still available, but I don't know. I generally don't delete old tweets. But if you go all the way back, the first few should be like just stills that are captioned with just the F word. And that joke was good for maybe 2 weeks. And after that, I started making animated GIFs and rewriting, entire lines of dialogue, but with the same idea, like trying to pull the emotion from it and use it as some kind of reaction. And so, I made it because I don't like emoji.
Well, it's grown to 148,000 followers on Twitter. Did you ever think that there was this need for Swear Trek?
No, I mean, I like to think that I'm funny, and I like to think that I could build an audience if it was there to be built, and but I didn't expect that this was going to be the thing that took off. Like I do a lot of writing, and I've done a lot of weird things, and this one being the one that hit was, it was just weird, it was great. I'm like, I'll take it. If this is the thing I'm notorious for, then great. I'm happy.
And it's grown to such an extent that you now have a team of captioners on board to come up with this funny stuff. What's the process to get a GIF or a GIF created and out to the world?
Yeah, I realized early on I needed at least a few people who I trusted to make sure that my jokes made sense, because sometimes they make sense to me. Because the thing about these 3 seconds, 4 seconds, and it's hard to get all of the context of a joke into 3 seconds, right? And so sometimes I would condense them so much that the joke wasn't there anymore. And so I need a few people to like just tell me how this works. And once I had trusted, funny people looking at them with me, they of course had other ideas too. And we would start rewriting stuff and making new jokes. And so it just made sense for everybody to just be like, great, we're putting you all on the masthead. Everybody contributes. And so what we do is I will be watching some Star Trek, and I watch it in big chunks. Like I will strip mine an episode, and then a month later strip mine another episode. But I try to schedule jumbled up, so you're not seeing 10,000 clips from Carbon Creek at the same time, because it would be obvious that I had done it. So I would start chopping them up, and things that I automatically had a joke for, I would just make that joke in a Slack group that we have. And stuff that I knew had promise, like had a good emotion, had the right kind of beats to make a joke out of it, I would take it with no caption and I would just stick it in a different channel in the same Slack, and we would just like have at it, And sometimes we'd be rewriting the one written jokes for and make better jokes. Sometimes the stuff that comes out of just where I found a moment but couldn't figure out the joke, like that's some of the best stuff in there. And so I really have to give high fives to now I'm gonna screw up and not name everybody. Mike and Noel and Joe and Chris and we have some alumni
starts with an N
anymore in the Slack. And which one?
Nick.
So
there are 1, 2, 3,
Nick.
4, 5.
I'm sorry, Nick.
5 amazing contributors to Swear Trek getting together. Are there any sort of jokes that you think go too far? Is there a line that you just won't cross?
I avoid certain things. There are a lot of when people on Twitter like to suggest rewrites all the time, and often they suggest very horny rewrites, and I'm just like, I don't know. It doesn't. I think one of the things is Star Trek is already really horny, and so I don't need to make particularly, sexual about a show that is so. I mean, have you seen Star Trek: The Motion Picture? That's a movie about a guy who's thinking with his junk the whole time. Yeah. If you go into it thinking that William Shatner is acting in a sexual way, you will just be like, wow, even what he does with his teeth is sexual. Like he does this at one point, and I was like, whoa. And then I watched that thing about the press clip where he does the make love to the mountain business, and it's like, yep, that's 100% on display here. This is Kirk showing his virility. And actually, that's where I stuck my dick in the warp core joke came from, because I was like, this whole movie is like he wants to have sex with things, and so what part of the ship could he have sex with? And I actually texted my friend Grant, and I said, if Captain Kirk was going to have sex with part of the Enterprise, what part would he have sex with? And he said, I'm really a next gen guy. And I said, okay, so if Geordi was going to have sex with something on the ship, what part of the ship would he have sex with? And Grant immediately texted back the war, and there was a great joke was born. So,
well, aside from a hologram representing the lady that designed the Enterprise,
yeah,
of course, the next best thing, I guess.
Yeah, I guess so.
Poor Geordi. He couldn't catch a break.
Yeah. Well, it's almost as bad as Harry. I've been rewatching Voyager, and Harry has just like the worst. Even when Harry has good romantic luck, it's because the whole planet of people is trying to trick him, or because it's a Klingon who wants to bite it's like just like let him have an evening one time. Harry just needs one great evening that's not on the holodeck with the farmer's daughter or any of that stuff. So, anyways,
or the wrong twin, or an alien from a xenophobic race, or there's just so many. I think there was a hologram in there too, wasn't there?
Yeah, I really wish that, like, you know, it's the episode where Trip gets pregnant on Enterprise. Like, I wish that had happened to Harry. Harry really deserves that, you know?
He really deserves some sort of life form growing in him. You're watching Star Trek. Is it just a continual cycle of Star Trek watching for you to come up with new ideas? How does it sort of work? Do you get inspired by an episode or a series at a time?
That'll happen. I sort of do it in two parts. There's me doing work where I actually watch episodes with no sound on and just watch for like interactions between people and like stuff they do with their eyes and, you know, reactions. And that's kind of like how I get most of the material. But before I do that, I have been, you know, slowly rewatching shows, and as I rewatch them, I sort of take notes and I say, "Oh yeah, this episode has a lot of promise." You know, this episode of Enterprise where Archer ends up in the shower because his mind is all broken, and T'Pol's shoved him in the shower to give him a cold shower. I'm like, there's a lot of stuff in this episode I can use, and I think one of the most recent ones that I tweeted was Trip lying on the ground and like slowly getting up and looking around. And that was from that same episode. Yeah, I'll sort of like, I'll flag them to myself as I'm watching and then go back and do them. But I kind of have a pile right now of at least one episode from every series that's like, okay, this is what, when I sit down to make some swear track, I'm going to go to this one and pull these pieces out. So
do you feel, or I was going to say, I was going to ask you a question, but before I get to that question, I want to ask, have you had any reaction from cast members seeing new captions on what they might have been saying in particular scenes?
Oh, yes. I've made friends, which is very weird. I feel like name dropping, so I'm not going to do the name dropping thing because it feels like I'm name dropping. I'm like, oh, this person liked it and this person said this. But yeah,
there's
like,
a good dopamine hit when they do that, though, isn't there?
Oh, yeah, absolutely. And it's like, it's really nice when it's because I mean, William Shatner hates swear track, so I'm just going to put that out there as the opposite of all of this. He does not think it's funny. He gets upset when people tweet it at him, and he blocked me. He blocked me hours before I was to meet him in person, which was very frustrating for me. I was like,
Did you still
I'm
meet
not
him
going
in
to let
person?
on who I am. I still met him. I just didn't let on who I was. I was like, no, I'm not going to say anything. I'm just like, hey, it's great to meet you. This is like, nice, bye. Get my picture taken. Let's go. But I think my favorite is when the writers show up and like stuff, because I'm always a little bit worried that I've like insulted their work, because I don't love it when we write my writing, you know, like I always find that like a little bit being invited, I find it a little presumptuous. And so I'm being really presumptuous with other people's writing. And so when Brandon Braga showed up on this tweet of an episode of shot from Parallels, where Data's looking at the screen, and all these ships start showing up on the screen, and he, you know, turns towards the camera and says that there are a fuck ton of ships here. And Braga tweeted something like, you know, this is a great improvement on the original dialogue, and I was like, yes, I will take this. I'll take this.
You've made it.
So that was awesome. I've made it. I ended up getting a great review quote for my book from Jane Weedland, because she had tweeted something at Swear Trek, because she's a big fan, and she was in Star Trek 4 she had some lines that were cut, but she's like an alien on the big screen when the Earth is all getting rained out. And anyway, she tweeted something very, very nice at me, and I was like, can I please have a review quote for my book? And she agreed. So I, like, in the inside cover of my book, it says fucking genius, Jane Weedland. I was like, yes. So that's the kind of like, that's the magic I need to sell more copies of my book.
Well, just as an extension on that, talking about the writers liking tweets and liking what they're seeing, do you feel a sort of sense of duty to protect the original nature of the character, or do you sort of think that what you're adding is what they'd really be saying if they didn't have a network censor hanging over them?
Right. I try to go with beats that would be familiar for the character with very few. The Swear Trek version of Neelix is not the same Neelix as the show. I've just decided he's a loud man from Boston, and so sometimes I give them a different. But that's rare. Mostly, I'm trying to just work in their cadence and their voice and their personality traits, because I think that's funnier. I think if you found a place where Tuvok is so irritated at something that he feels the need to use a curse word, you found a magical place. Tim Russ has such a distinctive way of speaking as Tuvok, and he was so he's written in such a beautiful clipped way. I love Tuvok dialogue. And actually, I've been thinking about Tuvok a lot lately because I'm into. It turns out I've never seen the second half of the 7th season of Voyager, and I really had no idea. I knew I hadn't seen the finale, but I didn't realize I hadn't seen most of the second half of the 7th season.
Wow.
I'm caught up to it now in my Voyager rewatch, so I'm watching all new episodes, which is awesome because they stopped making the show a while ago, and I got to the episode where Tuvok and Neelix have to be roommates, and I was like, I want to spin off this whole thing into a buddy comedy. This is a sitcom, best kind. They do not enough with it in the episode. The 3 jokes they make about it are all perfect, but the promise of Tuvok and Neelix as roommates is so good. And I just want to I do the whole of The Odd Couple, but with Tuvok and Neelix. I would love that so much. So anyways, Paramount Plus, if you're listening, my pitch for a sitcom is Tuvok and The Odd Couple. You can see if Ethan Phillips and Tim Russ are around.
Aaron, it's absolutely incredible. I look forward to that series, and I look forward to you getting royalties for that idea. I appreciate a little bit of your time today, chatting about Swear Trek. People can find you on Twitter at @swear_trek, and they need to get it in their lives.
Correct.
But of course, we do have to remind people, if it's not that obvious, that it's not necessarily recommended for all ages, but the humor is for all ages.
Contains bad words. It's very juvenile.
Naughty words, kids, that you shouldn't be using.
Yeah. Well, yeah, or that I heard from kids. Also that.
Well, exactly right. Fantastic, Aaron. Thanks for a little bit of your time, and we'll be looking for you on the Twitter sphere.
My pleasure. Thanks for having me.